After my wife passed away, I discovered her hidden social media account with over 1,000 private posts. My screen was filled with the name of her idealized first love. It turned out that the moment she accepted my proposal, she was thinking of him. The moment our son was born, she was thinking of him too. It turned out that every single day of our marriage, the person on her mind was the one she could never forget. My heart felt like it was being twisted by a knife. I collapsed at the desk. When I opened my eyes again, I was back in my senior year of high school, just as I was about to stop her from giving up a guaranteed university admission for that same man. This time, I decided to let her have her way. 1. She was leaning against a bookshelf, a faint, knowing smile playing on her lips as she looked at me. "Sincere Clark, you just can't let me go, can you?" I froze for a moment, then grabbed her wrist and pulled her away from the shelf. "Get away from me, and stay out of my sight forever." Before Victoria Westwood died, I believed I was the luckiest man in the world. My wife was gentle and virtuous. We went from the innocence of school uniforms to the solemnity of wedding attire, and our love felt as strong as ever. After we married, we welcomed a lovely little life into our world. She became the universally acknowledged good mother among our friends and family, doting on our child and valuing her family above all else. Through the long years, we were each other's rock, a loving and harmonious couple. Even my own son used to say, "Dad, there's no one else in this world who loves you as much as Mom does." Yes, I too was convinced that no one on earth cared for me more than she did. Until on the 7th day after her passing, while sorting through her belongings, I managed to unlock her phone and found a hidden social media account. The post spanned from the very beginning of our relationship to the final moments of her life. On the day she accepted my confession of love, she had written, "Ethan, I listened to you and chose sincere. You were right. He can give me a better future." At our wedding, she wrote, "Ethan, I wore a wedding dress today. It's a shame it wasn't for you." On the day our son was born, she wrote, "Ethan, my little angel has come into the world. I named him Simon Clark. His name is a symbol of my longing for you." My hands trembled uncontrollably as I scrolled down, staring at the words on the screen in disbelief. Between the lines were the countless little moments of our decades together. But the name she called out was always another man's. Ethan Montgomery, her first love, the love of her life. The most recent post was written when Victoria was already frail and ravaged by her illness, but she had still stubbornly typed out one last line, "Ethan, if there is a next life, I hope I can be with you." Tears streamed down my face, beyond my control. Our courtship, our marriage, becoming parents, the wife I had spent decades with. The person who haunted her dreams was the boy from her youth. I felt my whole world collapsing, a wound tearing open deep inside me that could never heal. All those years, the love I had believed in so completely was nothing but a self-deceiving one-man show. I couldn't take it anymore. A sharp pain stabbed through my chest, as if I'd been brutally run through. My son's anxious cries faded into the distance as my consciousness blurred. When I opened my eyes again, I was in the library's study hall. The sycamore trees outside the window rustled, and the air conditioner hummed softly. The student next to me nudged my arm, telling me not to sleep, as the library was about to close. My gaze fell on the countdown sign on the wall, 100 days until the college entrance exams. 2. In a daze, memories flooded back. The library's closing announcement echoed through the speakers, and students around me began packing up their books. A blue sticky note fluttered gently onto my textbook. I saw the familiar handwriting on it. "If you dare to skip the admissions competition, I'll report you to the dean." My eyes moved up to meet Victoria Westwood's, which were twinkling with a sly glint. She leaned against the bookshelf, the corners of her mouth turned up. My, you're that concerned about me? You even want to meddle in my future?" The memories rushed in, the crush I'd had on her for 3 years feeling like it was only yesterday. In that moment, I finally found the courage to speak to her. I'd overheard yesterday that she was planning to skip the competition for guaranteed admission for the campus heartthrob, Ethan Montgomery. claiming she wanted to pursue her inner freedom. Victoria had always been the school's pride, with outstanding grades and a bright future. But ever since she started hanging out with Ethan, she'd become rebellious and defiant, always talking about breaking free from her shackles. The college entrance exams are right around the corner anyway, so giving up this competition is no big deal. In my memory, I had done everything in my power to stop her, unable to bear watching her throw away her future. I was even willing to use the basest of threats to make her keep that opportunity. The Victoria of that time had been furious, but given my standing with the teachers, she eventually chose to compromise. As it happened, Ethan went to the principal's office alone that day to withdraw and was disqualified on the spot. That incident served as a wake-up call for Victoria. She returned to her studies and even came to thank me for my intervention. From then on, our lives became intertwined. We got into the same top university, got to know each other, fell in love, and eventually married, until the day I discovered the secret she had hidden for years. In her private blog, she wrote, "If I had skipped the competition that day and chosen to follow my heart, maybe things would be different now. At least I could be with the man I truly love." The words stung my eyes. I stood up, my gaze icy. Have some self-respect. As a class officer, it's my duty to look out for my classmates. Don't flatter yourself. Victoria froze, her eyes widening in disbelief. "Sincere Clark, what did you say? Weren't you the one who brought me breakfast every day? The one who shared your competition notes with me? Aren't you always watching my every move? Out of everyone in our year, why are you so focused on me?" She grew more agitated as she spoke, as if she had caught me red-handed. "Admit it, Sincere Clark, you just can't let me go 3. Looking at her confident expression, I had a sudden realization. She had seen through my feelings long ago. She knew all along. Thinking back on my past self, I had believed I'd hidden my crush so well, only daring to confess in college. It was like standing in the sun. How could you not feel the warmth? Victoria understood everything. The only reason she accepted me in college was because Ethan had already gone abroad. Scene after scene from the past flashed before my eyes. Looking at this girl who had once captivated my every thought, I just felt a roiling in my stomach, wishing I could sever all ties with her immediately. "You're overthinking it," I said coolly. "I don't have any special feelings for you. That was just basic concern for a classmate." Seeing she still didn't believe me, I didn't want to waste any more words. I grabbed the arm of a stunned Sophie Gardner. "If you don't believe me, ask her. I'm like this with everyone." Sophie was gentle and well-mannered, a stark contrast to Victoria's flamboyant personality. She was always quiet, polite, and carried herself with grace. Now, yanked to her feet so suddenly, her almond-shaped eyes were wide. She nodded reflexively, echoing my words. Yes, he's always like this." Victoria finally wavered. A flicker of disappointment crossed her eyes, gone in an instant. Just then, Ethan leaned against the doorway dangling a set of car keys and started to hurry her along. "Are you coming or not? What's the holdup?" In my memory, Victoria had been forced to refuse him because of my threat. Now I was afraid she would stay. I casually crumpled the sticky note and tossed it into the trash. "Go on, don't worry about it," I said nonchalantly. "I was just giving you a reminder. If you're set on skipping, I can't stop you." Victoria looked at me suspiciously. "You really won't report me?" I shook my head, pretending to focus on my book. She hesitated for a moment, but ultimately couldn't resist Ethan's urging and turned to leave. As their footsteps faded away, Sophie gently nudged me. "Hey, your book is upside down." I finally snapped back to reality, my eyes unconsciously following the two figures. Sophie's voice suddenly sounded odd, losing its usual gentleness. "You're really not going to stop her? I thought you cared about Victoria." "What if she really skips the admissions competition?" I smiled, not noticing the sour note in her tone. I just said enigmatically, "It's not what if, it's a certainty." And just as I expected, after classes ended that afternoon. 4. Dean Miller took a phone call and rushed out of his office. A crowd of students swarmed over, trying to see what was happening. Through the half-open office door, I spotted Victoria immediately. She was surrounded by the grade-level director, Dean Miller, and her parents, trapped like a cornered animal. The girl who had once shone so brightly now looked utterly pathetic, and yet I felt a sliver of satisfaction. Seeing her like this, I felt an indescribable sense of relief. After all, she would soon be able to run off with the love of her life. "You look awfully happy about this." Sophie had appeared by my side at some point, a smile in her eyes as she watched me. I sneered. "What's there to be happy about?" Sophie smiled faintly. "Let's go to the study hall, shall we? I have a few tough problems I was hoping to discuss with you." Sophie, with whom I'd barely interacted in my memory, was now finding subtle ways to approach me in this new life. Maybe it was because I'd used her as a shield earlier. I couldn't very well refuse, so I nodded and said, "Okay." I had only taken a few steps when Dean Miller suddenly poked his head out of the crowd and called my name. "Sincere Clark, come here for a moment." "Sir, it was Sincere Clark who encouraged me to skip the admissions competition. He told me he wouldn't tell the teachers." In the office, Victoria was pointing a finger at me. Her eyes were filled with venom, completely devoid of their usual gentleness. "Sir, he's a class officer. Not only did he fail to dissuade me, he actually encouraged me to give up my spot. He's worse than I am, so he's the one who should be punished." Seeing Victoria lashing out so desperately, I understood that her chance at guaranteed admission was gone for good. But now, like a madwoman, she was trying to drag me down with her. I didn't understand. We had nothing to do with each other now. Why was she so intent on pinning this on me, just because I hadn't stepped in to save her? Our eyes met. Hers were a storm of complex emotions, confusion, pain. It was as if she was blaming me for standing by and doing nothing. But why should I have to pay the price for her choice? My thoughts were a tangled mess when the dean's stern voice cut through. "Sincere Clark, did you really say something like that? You knew a classmate was planning to skip the competition, and not only did you not stop her, you encouraged her?" He looked at me with disappointment. "Behavior like that is even more disheartening than what she did." Just as I was about to speak, a cool female voice came from behind me. "Sir, I can be a witness." Sincere Clark did try to persuade Victoria, but she was adamant about skipping. She even begged Sincere not to tell the teachers. This whole incident has nothing to do with Sincere Clark. 5. Sophie Gardner was the class president. She was organized and efficient in handling class affairs and was deeply trusted by the teachers. Naturally, the dean didn't doubt her when she spoke up. What's more, Sophie had somehow fished the crumpled sticky note out of the trash. On it was written, "Value this opportunity. Don't skip the competition." The threatening line about reporting her had been torn off. It now looked like nothing more than a simple, well-intentioned reminder. Skipping the competition, lying, and framing a classmate at such a critical time for college admissions. Victoria's actions had undoubtedly crossed the school's line. Her admission was revoked to serve as a warning to others. There was no room for negotiation. The last time I set foot on campus was on the day of the first mock exam. It was the most difficult joint mock exam of the year. Even during the long break between classes, most students were hunched over their desks, cramming, with only a few catching up on sleep. I was one of them, completely oblivious. Victoria had silently appeared beside me. She tapped my desk with a chilling gaze, a far cry from the gentle, virtuous girl of the past. "We need to talk," she said, her tone icy. The moment our eyes met, an involuntary shiver ran down my spine. I had seen that dark look too many times before. When she found out I'd been at a reunion with my college classmates, when she learned I had a business trip, when she saw me having lunch with a female colleague, that look was all too familiar. But that was all after we were married. Before marriage, she had never shown such an expression. Could it be? I hesitated for a moment, but followed her out of the classroom. "What happened that day was your own fault. It had nothing to do with me. Besides, I already told you I don't like you. So there was no reason for me to get involved in your business." I rattled off my explanation, trying to distance myself from her. Before I could finish, she cut me off. She turned, her eyes dark and intense. Yanli, she called me by my intimate name, a strange familiarity in her voice. You were supposed to stop me, weren't you? You're my husband. You should have been on my side, shouldn't you? So she had been reborn too. How could you just stand by and watch? Her accusation was as sharp as ice. In that instant, memories of my past life flooded my mind. After we married, Victoria's true personality had gradually emerged. Paranoid, suspicious, often giving me the silent treatment. Whenever things didn't go her way, she would stare at me with that same look. But back then, I was head over heels in love with her. She was the girl I had harbored a crush on throughout my entire youth, from a clueless teenager to a middle-aged man. 6. She had never betrayed me, and we had a child together. I was naturally reserved. I always told myself that everyone has bad days. She worked hard managing the household, so it was better to just let some things go. So I always bottled up my unhappiness. I would cautiously ask her what was wrong, taking care of the little things in her life for her. She hated the smell of sweat on me, so I gave up all my athletic hobbies. As for the innocent crushes I had before I met her, they were buried deep inside me. I even deleted every single post about my high school crush from my old social media account. These small sacrifices were gradually forgotten over the years. After all, protecting our relationship, protecting our home, and loving my wife with all my heart, it all seemed perfectly normal to me. Everything I gave because I thought our love was mutual. True love is so rare, and so I threw myself into it without a second thought. Only now did I understand that her heart had always belonged to someone else. Her time with me, including our child, was just a consolation prize she settled for after a broken heart. And now, reborn. Carrying the memories of our past, she had the audacity to stand before me and say, "You should have supported my choice. Aren't you my husband?" I couldn't help but laugh coldly. That's all in the past tense. You and I are strangers now. Besides, my gaze drifted past Victoria to the boy running towards her. Youthful, vibrant, it was the white moonlight god she had dreamed of her entire life. Since fate has given us a second chance, go and pursue your true love. This time, don't use me as your backup plan. Victoria had always been exceptionally sharp. In just a few sentences, she understood everything. She was about to speak when the boy behind her wrapped an arm around her shoulder. Still packing? We should get going. Ethan looked at her gently and said, "You're all I have left now. Let's go together." Ethan Montgomery was a big name on campus. He wasn't just handsome, he was a natural at charming women. I remembered that at first, Victoria, who was both academically gifted and popular, actually looked down on Ethan. She said he was just a pretty boy, a philanderer with no substance. But faced with a handsome boy's daily advances and sweet talk, she eventually fell for him. Watching her gaze at Ethan, her feelings plain to see, I said softly, "Isn't being reborn all about making up for past regrets?" 7. The man you love is right in front of you now, so why let him go? Go and chase the happiness you want. I was calm when I said this. That slap she'd given me in my memory was the end of it for us. I just hoped she wouldn't see me as a backup option anymore. From now on, we would be worlds apart, never to meet again. Hearing my words, Victoria no longer hesitated. With a gentle pull from Ethan, she followed him away. The young couple's silhouettes merged into a beautiful picture under the sun, the very dream Victoria had chased her entire life. At that moment, she had finally gotten her wish. That night, a screenshot of Victoria's social media post made the rounds in our class group chat. The photo was a sweet selfie of her and Ethan at a travel agency, along with a cozy shot of them nestled together. Finally, no more regrets. Yes, finally complete. And I no longer had to drown in a fictional love. I smiled, put down my phone, and focused on my studies. This was the best possible outcome. In this new life, I would never get entangled with her again. But I never expected Victoria to seek me out again later. In fact, for the next few years, I didn't see a trace of her. I heard she and Ethan went abroad to study. Their families invested heavily to get them into decent universities. Though their relationship had its ups and downs, they were inseparable. As for my life, aside from the absence of Victoria, everything was much like my past life. College entrance exams, university. I lived each day, uneventfully but fulfilled. In fact, free from my obsession with Victoria, I chose a more ideal city and a major better suited for me. Life was getting better. Hey, we're almost done with our junior year. You're not planning on dating at all? As fate would have it, Sophie Gardner and I ended up at the same university. As old classmates, we saw each other often over the years. I had just finished my final exams and was searching for internships online, hoping to get some work experience over the summer. Hearing her question, I shook my head instinctively. I'm not thinking about it right now. It was true that quite a few girls had shown interest in me over the past few years. Sophie herself sought me out to chat every few days. How could I not know what she was thinking? But the moment love was mentioned, I had a primal urge to run. Don't tell me you have some kind of trauma about relationships, Sophie teased. Her words made me freeze. Trauma? Was that what this was? Maybe. Whenever the topic of romance came up, my mind would involuntarily flash back to my previous life. Her cooking for me proposing to her, us exchanging eternal vows in front of our friends and family. Everything was as perfect as a fairy tale. 8. And yet, every night, as I slept soundly in her warm embrace, she would secretly open her phone and pour out her endless longing for another man on her private blog. Where did it all go so wrong? Whenever these thoughts surfaced, it felt like countless tiny needles were piercing my chest over and over. The dense, sharp pain threatened to tear my heart to shreds. At my lowest, I even began to question my own worth. If I had never discovered those hidden words, perhaps I wouldn't be in such agony. If I could have let go of my obsession with her sincerity and simply enjoyed our years together, maybe I could have found peace. Maybe I could have fooled myself into thinking our relationship was still whole. I constructed 1,000 different scenarios in my mind, but none could convince the deepest part of myself. Every time I thought of marriage and love, my vision would cloud over. The sweetness and bitterness of the past had ultimately turned into a one-man show. It left no trace, and everything returned to nothing. Snapping out of the dense list of job postings, I forced a bitter smile. I murmured softly, I guess so. So right now, I have no desire for romance, let alone starting a family. I just want to focus all my energy on my career and self-improvement. With my educational background, I easily found a good internship. I stepped into my professional life early, living a busy but fulfilling period, until I came home from work one day and saw a familiar figure at my door, which made me freeze on the spot. She was wearing a white dress, her makeup flawless. It was as if she had stepped out of the past, from the day she first confessed her feelings for me. It was Victoria. She was back. Auntie gave me your new address. I came straight here as soon as my plane landed. Seeing my shocked expression, Victoria explained casually. I understood. Victoria's mother and my mom were colleagues, and we had met a few times as children. That was probably why I'd been drawn to her back in middle school. Now she mentioned my mother, a bag of local specialties from our hometown in her hand. I couldn't bring myself to just shut the door in her face, so I stepped aside to let her in. I was too busy with work to ever think about tidying up. The cleaning service only came on Sundays. It was Friday, and the place was a mess. Clothes were thrown about, snack wrappers were scattered on the sofa, and takeout boxes were piled up everywhere. Victoria frowned, unable to hold back a comment. How did you get so messy? This isn't like you at all. Come to think of it, in our past life, she wasn't just a virtuous wife. I had also played my part well, keeping the house tidy no matter how busy I was. Seeing how hard she worked with our child, I had taken on most of the housework. So seeing my current state of disarray, she was genuinely surprised. 9. The truth was, in my past life, I only kept things neat because I knew she had a thing for cleanliness. Now, I couldn't be bothered to try and please her. When you live alone, you can be a little more relaxed." She smiled. "That'll change once you settle down and get married." I frowned, not understanding the implication in her words. Not bothering to dwell on it, I took the bag of specialties from her and began showing her the door. "Thank Auntie for me. Now that you've delivered the things, well..." She suddenly cut me off. "Yanli, Ethan and I broke up." The statement came out of nowhere. After all, in this life we were practically strangers. So what? What does that have to do with me? She hadn't expected me to be so cold. "It's summer break, and we're both juniors. Why don't we start over, give each other another chance? We can have that happy life we had before." I stood there, utterly stunned. "Did studying abroad mess with your head? Are you insane?" Victoria, not understanding my resistance, asked, "What's wrong?" "We've both made up for our regrets. Continuing on our original path seems perfect, doesn't it?" I was completely speechless. "Have a few exams finally driven you mad?" A full day of work had left me exhausted, and I had no energy to entertain her bizarre fantasies. I pushed her towards the door. "My biggest regret is ever knowing you. You should stay far away from me." Victoria suddenly grabbed my wrist, pinning me against the wall. Her eyes were filled with confusion. "Yanli, why are you pushing me away like this? Wasn't our life together good enough?" Thinking back on our past life, it had indeed seemed perfect on the surface. Until the day she died, I had naively believed so. Seeing me fall silent, she immediately seized the opportunity. "I get it. I know why you're..." She looked down, a flash of guilt on her face. But the guilt vanished in an instant, replaced by a stubborn tone. "It was just a few social media posts. What does that even matter? I fulfilled my duties as a wife and a mother. If you had never found them, wouldn't you still have been happy? I never betrayed our marriage. I never cheated. I did everything I was supposed to do. Actions matter more than thoughts. Why are you so hung up on something so intangible? Living in the moment is what's most important, isn't it? To be honest." Her words threw me into chaos. For a moment I was almost swayed by her twisted logic. For a split second I even thought she had a point. 10. Those posts, those moments she spent dreaming of someone else, could I really pretend they never existed? Logically, it seemed she was right, but the pain was still there. It was a pain like being torn apart, piece by piece. This was the first time we had ever spoken so frankly about it all. When she talked about our marriage, she was so matter-of-fact, as if to say, "I don't love you, but that doesn't have to stop us from being together." I clenched my fists, desperately suppressing the rage welling up inside me. Burning with anger, I shoved her out the door. "Get out, just get out," slammed the moment the door closed. Her voice still echoed from the hallway. "Yanli, we're supposed to be together. Stop getting hung up on this." Every word she said made it sound like I was the one in the wrong. Thud. I slammed my fist against the wall, a sharp pain shooting through my knuckles. A crack appeared on the wall, and my heart shattered along with it. I finally broke, and silent tears began to fall. The next day, Sophie immediately noticed something was wrong. "What happened to your hand?" In the company break room, she quickly put down her coffee and rummaged through the first aid kit to bandage it for me. "It's nothing," I replied in a low voice. She paused mid-action and asked softly, "Is this because Victoria is back?" I heard she's single now. I was slightly surprised. "News travels that fast?" Sophie found some gauze and carefully wrapped my wound. "Let's deal with this first." She then sighed. "That news is all over the place. She and the campus heartthrob dated abroad for 2 years, then broke up as soon as they graduated. Now Ethan is constantly showing off his new girlfriend on social media. And what does she do? Comes straight to you the moment she's back." I was completely baffled. If she chose to go halfway across the world for him, why come back now? She was so deeply in love with Ethan she almost threw away her education for him. How could they just end it like that? Sophie stared at me, her gaze knowing. After a long moment she let out a soft sigh. She spoke with the wisdom of someone who understood the world. You have excellent prospects, you're handsome, your family background is on par with hers, and you were once smitten with her. She analyzed the situation calmly. Sincere Clark, let's be honest. You're the most ideal choice for a lifelong partner. The kind who is perfect for starting a family. At first, I didn't grasp the full meaning of Sophie's words. Victoria, as if possessed, stopped pestering me directly but started visiting my parents frequently. It got to the point where my father was calling me daily, rambling on, that Victoria is a really great girl 11. She's sensible, capable, and has a bright future. You need to seize this opportunity. You're about to enter the workforce. It's time to think about settling down. His constant nagging was driving me crazy. Unable to take it anymore, I called Victoria's number. I wanted to tell her to stop bothering my family. There was no future for us. But the call went straight to voicemail. The frustration was building inside me. Sophie walked over and gently patted my shoulder. Don't look so down. Some old classmates are getting together at a bar tonight. Want to go and blow off some steam? We booked a nice private room. The atmosphere is great. It'll be a good change of pace. I usually hated places like that, but right now I had a knot of anger in my chest and needed an outlet. I grabbed my jacket. Let's go together. I never expected to run into Victoria there. She wasn't there for our gathering. Just as we arrived, I saw a familiar figure by the entrance. Victoria was being blocked by a guy who was trying to pull her away, his emotions running high. There in front of the bar, they were tangled in a cycle of pulling and pushing away. It was like a scene from a cheesy drama. Fragments of their conversation drifted on the night breeze. Ethan, stop it. We're really not right for each other. Ethan's voice was choked with emotion as he pleaded, Then why did you come looking for me? You can't let me go, can you? You still have feelings for me, don't you? Her reply cut through the noise of the night, loud and clear. Yes, I can't let you go. She was genuinely in love with Ethan. Her face was etched with a sense of loss and conflict I had never seen before. A moment later, Ethan's friends came to get him. She finally pushed him away, repeating over and over, We're just not right for each other. In that moment, I was utterly confused. If she was so deeply in love with Ethan, why was she so relentlessly pursuing me? What's wrong? Feeling sorry for her? Sophie looked at me meaningfully. I shook my head, my heart already a calm sea. Without feelings, there's no reason to care about her every move. And I was long past having any feelings for Victoria. I clenched my fist. I just don't understand. That is, until we followed the crowd into the bar. From a private room deep inside, we could hear Victoria's voice as she chatted with someone. Yeah, I just happened to run into him drinking himself into a stupor. I was worried, so I came to check on him. She spoke casually, as if it were nothing, but then let her true feelings slip. That's right, I like Ethan a lot. He's the one I'll never forget. But reality has taught me that he's not the kind of person you can spend a life with. 12. He's too much of a philanderer. How can a man like that be in a serious relationship? Dating is one thing. Victoria lit a slim cigarette. Through the swirling smoke, she seemed lost in pragmatic thought. Isn't marriage just about building a family? My mom's not well. She wants to see me settle down soon, but I still need to find someone who understands romance. As for love, she heaved a deep sigh. I couldn't tell if she was sighing for herself, or for the unlucky soul who was about to walk down the aisle with her. Or maybe she was sighing for me? The moment the door to the room was pushed open, I decisively put my arm around Sophie. Victoria's gaze froze. The hand holding the cigarette paused, and her eyes turned instantly to ice. A classmate next to us started to hoot. Whoa, class president, you and the academic officer. I smiled, pretending not to notice Victoria's glare. I looked at Sophie with a tender expression and said, We've started dating. She's the one I've had my eye on for a long time. Victoria shot up from her seat, grabbed my wrist, and forcefully dragged me out of the room. In the hallway, she confronted me, almost losing control. Sincere Clark, what is the meaning of this? You're my husband. A wave of disgust washed over me. She could date whoever she wanted, but I was supposed to remain bound to her. I sneered. I've told you 1,000 times that was a past life. In this life there is nothing between us. And don't tell me you were a good wife in our past life, that you weren't unfaithful or fickle. Let me ask you something. I looked this woman straight in the eye, my chest churning with revulsion and disgust. Let's say right now I was in love with someone else but was going to marry you. And I wrote her love letters every day, and even named our child after her. Could you accept that? Victoria was stunned. Of course she was stunned, because she knew I would never do that. Because in our past life I had truly loved her. So she took that love for granted, even patting herself on the back for being a good wife. After all, she was always one to set rules for others, while doing whatever she pleased. Cat got your tongue? I pressed on when she remained silent. Victoria, stop pretending to be a good wife. You're just selfish. You want a lover you can't let go of, but you can't accept all of him. You enjoyed your husband's devotion but couldn't give him the same sincerity in return, and now you feel wronged? You're disgusting now, everything was clear. And I finally didn't have to torture myself anymore. I violently shook her hand off me, a final decisive end to our entanglement. I'll say it one last time. Stay away from me. I don't love you anymore. Not one bit. After that, Victoria never came looking for me again. 13. Because that day I had recorded everything she said. When my parents heard it, my mom was so angry she nearly took off her slipper to hit her. Victoria knew her reputation was ruined, so she stayed far away. I later heard she met a decent guy through a blind date and got married, but they divorced in less than 2 years. Only then did she realize that the guy had also just been trying to appease his family's nagging. Their marriage was a hasty arrangement, and he had no real feelings for her. Once his familial duty was done, he packed his bags and left without a second thought. And I finally understood why Victoria had chosen me. Because the me from our past life had loved her so much. It wasn't for marriage, not for responsibility, but simply because I was deeply in love with that person. That was what allowed me to digest all the unpleasantness through the long, mundane years, making the memories of our daily life seem warm and touching. If there is no real love, only responsibility, anyone has the power to just get up and leave. After that, I no longer fixated on relationships. As for Sophie and what happened that day, I felt a little apologetic. You're the class president. You arranged the venue for the gathering. You know full well why I happened to overhear that conversation. She looked quite helpless. Can't you really give me another chance? I looked at the woman before me, beautiful and seemingly sincere in every word. But no matter how pleasant the words, it's impossible to see the truth of a person's heart. Love is easy to profess, but what's real and what's fake as time goes by, who can really say? However, a career won't change. The skills and knowledge you accumulate are your own. Money won't change. You can't use counterfeit bills to replace real ones. You can use fake love to get a lifetime of devotion from a partner, but you can't use counterfeit money to buy a cup of coffee. Real or fake, it's a choice. I smiled. Let's just forget it. I still have a long road ahead of me in this life. This time, I choose myself. The end.